Deep in the basin of old Amazon, midst the lush rainforest canopy, a brown and black beetle was feasting upon a leaf of the banana tree. 'Twas Huggily Buggily they called him by name. He had wings brown and black, plain and simple, a twisted antenna which pointed due south, and on his right cheek sat a dimple. The other more colorful bugs of the forest would tease Mr. Huggly in jest. They'd oftentimes argue tween all of the rest about who was most colorfully dressed. Timothy Tortoise-shell Beetle had some magnificent hues of bright yellow, and even among all the bugs of leafdom was many a handsomer fellow. Compared to the beetles and butterflies there, poor Huggly wasn't as comely. His colors were dreary, his face not as fair, though one could not say he was homely. Dirk the dung beetle had shiny green wings. He berated poor Huggly quite smugly. "You're just a plain beetle. Your mother was wise to name what you are. You're just ugly." Huggly wished for a memorable face as he glanced through the treetops above. "I'm totally boring. My face is the kind that only my mother could love." One afternoon, Huggly sat on his leaf after eating a banana leaf snack, moaning and miserable, immersed in his grief, reclining in tears on his back. He wondered what life would be like in the world outside of the rainforest green, and deep in his mind insecurities whirled as he thought about what might have been. I could have been something bigger than this. I could have been something great. I could be bathing in beetle bug bliss instead of this terrible state. He sobbed as he saw his reflection bounce back in a droplet of dew on his leaf. So inconsolable Huggly was, immersed in self-pitying grief. And as Huggly cried his great font of huge tears, Mortimer Monkey swung by. He might not have noticed poor Huggly at all, but he heard Huggly's pitiful cry. "Why, Beetle, what's wrong? Tell me, what has you down?" Mortimer Monkey inquired. "It looks as though you will undoubtedly drown in these buckets of tears you have sired." He answered, "I should be so happy, I fear. To you, Monkey, it may seem dumb, but even the wings of the leaf beetles here outshine me. I'm just so humdrum. You'd think that I could just be grateful and smile, accepting this homely old face. My colors are dreary, my wings have no style, I lack any semblance of grace. I'm so ordinary and bored all the while. I've got to get out of this place." "You know," said the monkey while scratching his chin, "I have an idea that's quite bright. To free your poor mind of the sad funk you're in, release from your terrible plight. This tree that you feast upon day after day bears from it a magical fruit. When eaten by monkeys, they magically may grant 3 wishes after I poot." Then Mortimer reached up and plucked off a fruit of the magical banana tree. He chewed it whole, swallowed, and started to toot. "Just watch, Mr. Beetle, and see." "Just think your first wish," Monkey said to his friend, as he started to grimace and pass. He lifted his tail and raised his hind end and emitted a terrible gas. "You have to repeat this one magical phrase, Mana bada boo bada bee. Then fix on my booty your wonderful gaze," said the monkey, who lifted one knee. His bottom was pointed toward poor Huggly's face as Mortimer passed one long fart. Huggly chanted his wish as he placed 2 crossed forelegs over his heart. "I think I'll go north," Huggly said to himself, "because north is much better than south. Somewhere where one can be true to oneself and not have to live hand to mouth. Somewhere where I can stand out in a crowd, where I am the belle of the ball. Somewhere can I say, for crying out loud, where I am beloved, warts and all." "Mana bada boo bada bee," Huggly cried. "Mana bada boo bada bee." He squinted in pain as he uttered, cross-eyed, these words like a howling banshee. He choked out these words and tried not to inhale the toxic, malodorous aroma. The smell was so pungent he started to ail and almost slipped into a coma. And just then a terrible waft of great wind swept him 50 feet up in the sky and carried him off from the monkey who grinned, who said, "Bug, see you later. Bye-bye." Higher than high he rose, up through the shrouds of trees in the great canopy. Higher than high he rose, up to the clouds, traveling o'er valley and sea. The foul-smelling windstorm had carried him far to a city of concrete and steel. So long was his journey, so tired was he now, he desired nothing more than a meal. And soon the malodorous stench of the fart gradually gave way to the scent of old Little Italy as he entered its heart, and into a restaurant he went. He could smell minestrone and pasta visual as the waft gently dropped him inside. He savored the aromas and started to drool. "Mamma mia!" poor Huggily cried. He landed in the kitchen of Chef Pepe the Great when he heard a voice call from behind. "Try the gnocchi," she said. "He's preparing a plate. It's molto delicioso, you'll find." "I'm Clementine Cockroach," the bug introduced. "And you're pretty new, I can tell." "You're very attractive," she wisely deduced. "In fact, you are quite the bombshell." And then she stepped forward, young Clementine did, and batted her eyelashes wildly. She seemed to be somewhat infatuated with Huggily. That's putting it mildly. "Hi, my name is Huggily," old Huggily said. He extended his forearm quite shyly. "Hi, so nice to meet you," the young roach greeted. Then Clementine winked at him slyly. "Are you of the order Blattaria?" she inquired. "You're very much smaller than we." "You are very handsome, but you look quite tired. The gnocchi's the chef's specialty." He watched from the shadows Chef Pepe prepare his world-renowned dumpling platter. He twirled with his finger a pizza mid-air while stirring up cream cake batter. The chef wore a tall hat, as most great chefs do. He bellowed a long aria. As he worked sprinkling chocolate on tiramisu, he whistled a loud opera. But Huggily wasn't impressed with the food the chef was inspired to create. To Huggily, none of this looked any good, but then Huggily spotted a plate. The chef had prepared a big salad of green, arugula, radicchio, endive, romaine, and each leaf in between. "To the salad," Hug said, "tally-ho! To the salad's where Huggily must go." "Oh, Huggily, be careful!" cried young Clementine. "It's not as obvious as it seems to steal bits of food in a restaurant so fine, no matter how craftily one schemes." "I don't care," said Huggily. "I could eat a whole horse, though these leafy greens will suffice. I'm famished and starving and hungry, of course, and this tasty salad looks nice. I'm going to venture out there with full force, whatever the cost or the price." He tiptoed out quietly across the sink. He tried to traipse softly and crept. But sadly, Chef Pepe did spot Huggily slink, so under a bowl Huggily leapt. The chef quickly snatched up his old rolling pin and let out a frightening scream. He whacked at poor Huggily again and again. Poor Hug was a goner, it seemed. "Oh no, Scarafaggio!" Chef Pepe cried, as he flung his pin wild at Hug's head. "I don't know how dis rocha get inside, but I'm gonna make dis rocha dead." Huggily was frantic and all out of breath. He didn't know quite what to do. Chef Pepe resolved to smack Huggily to death into a squashed pile of bug goo. Whack, whack went the rolling pin. Pepe was mad. Whip, whip, then it thunderously crashed. What a pickle poor Hug was in. What a time poor Hug had, as he tried not to get himself smashed. Poor Hug closed his eyes and he started to wish, as he uttered the magical word, "I don't want to end up a pile of bugs, Squish. To meet with this end is absurd." What was the phrase? He asked. What did he say? Oh, mana bada boo bada bee. Oh, dear fart of wind, take me far from this woe, away from this chef's cruelty. And just then the magical fart reappeared and blew little Huggily away, off through the hazy blue cloud atmosphere, far from the vengeful gourmet. Further, still further he flew in the air, he shielded his eyes from the sun. Further, still further, he'd go anywhere, somewhere he could be number one. And finally the magical fart of great wind set Huggily down on a leaf. He sat in a garden of roses and grinned. "I'm safe now, to my great relief." He studied the greenery surrounding him there, while perched on the leaf of a rose. The smell of sweet perfume pervaded the air and tickled poor Huggily's nose. 'Twere species of every gardening posy old Huggily could ever desire. Noisette, English garden, and old cottage rosy, fair Bianca, Falstaff, and Ayrshire. Now here is the paradise I'm looking for. Bliss follows he who believes. These roses are lovely, but inferior to their tasty and delicate leaves. As Huggily Buggily was feasting away on the leaf of a yellow king's ransom, 3 ladybug sisters approached him to say, "Hello, Bug. Who are you? You're quite handsome." "Permit us to introduce ourselves to you," said the sisters with 5 pointed spots. "We're Tallulah, Delilah, and Enid by name. We're sisters and compatriots." "You live here?" asked Huggily. "Well, how fortunate. This garden's a bug's paradise. This meal that I've chomped on and happily ate is really deliciously nice. My journey before left me hungry and tired. In fact, I was feeling quite yucky. But thanks for the nourishment here I've acquired. You, my dear ladies, are lucky." "He's a charming old chap," said Tallulah the bug. "And what is your name again, Mr.?" "Huggily Buggily," Huggily replied. Enid added, "Well, as for us sisters, leaf-eating's something that we silly Brits don't really know much about. We like to eat aphids, poor little dimwits." Then she popped one right into her mouth. She plucked up another and chomped it down, but first she popped off its small head. "And Lady Penelope keeps us around to keep aphids dead," Enid said. As Huggily Buggily continued his chat with the 5 pointed ladybugs there, 2 human eyes peered from beneath a straw hat, and at him they continued to glare. 'Twas Lady Penelope who stared at the bug. In a panic, she started to scream. "What creature is this?" she asked, speaking of Hug. "Who ruins my rose garden dream?" She flitted the 5 pointed sisters away. "Now shoo, girls, now scurry away. I have yet some business to care for today, to keep this intruder at bay." She grabbed up a can of her trusty bug spray. "You're dead, Bug," Hug heard Lady say. She sprayed a most horrible, terrible mist, a toxic and noxious gas. He started to shiver, convulse, and to twist. He prayed for the horror to pass. Psst, psst, went the spray can of old pesticide the Lady Penelope sprayed. Hug dodged neath the bloom, and he tried hard to hide. He was out of breath, tired, and afraid. "You'll not have my roses," she yelled at him loudly. "You'll not have my garden to kill. Not my prized king's ransom," she bellowed quite proudly. She screamed in a voice high and shrill. Poor Huggily regretted his miserable quest. He longed for the rainforest green. In hindsight, poor Huggily had lived a life blessed. The jungle was safe and serene. He choked on the mist and he choked back the tears as he choked out, "Mana bada boo! Bada bee," said the bug, "to the south, far from here, to this horrible place bid adieu. Due southward now, to my own hemisphere, to Brazil, Ecuador, or Peru." "Mana bada boo bada bee," cried the bug, "Mana bada boo bada bee." Then entered the fart of great wind for young Hug, and carted him o'er land and sea. He coughed and he sputtered and rode the great fart, as he breathed a great sigh of relief. He wished he had never had reason to part with his comfy banana leaf. And just as he uttered his words of regret, the wind set him where he belonged. His mother Petula was clearly upset. She'd waited for Hug all day long. "Oh, Huggily," she cried as she gave him a hug, "I'm so glad to see your bright face. Your mamma has missed you, her big Huggly bug. This wasn't the same happy place. I left 'cause I hated that other bugs teased me. I felt so repulsive," said Huggly. "And mamma, you shouldn't be so quick to squeeze me. Isn't Huggly my name, 'cause I'm ugly?" His mother just let out one long-winded sigh and explained, "No, I named you that name because you were cuddly, and then because I like to hug you. I named you the same." "Oh, mamma," he stated, "then you named me Huggly because I was comfy to hold?" "Still are," mamma answered and held him again. "Remember, you're never too old." Content to be hugging his mother once more, enjoying his rainforest meal, Hug never forgot his grim journey before, or his mystical farting ordeal. So what is the moral, for crying out loud, of this story of Huggly Bug? Well, there are two morals here. One, sometimes it's okay to blend into the crowd. And two, you're never too old for a hug.